What's up guys, Dark Roast here, going to be doing a video on a mass airflow replacement on a 2002 Mitsubishi Montero Sport. Here we go. Alright, so I'm replacing the mass airflow sensor because, I'm replacing the mass airflow sensor because the car has a rough idle, and so my friend told me that replacing the mass airflow sensor will help. I've cleaned this one multiple times in the last few years because it would throw mass airflow sensor codes, but it is throwing codes, but not specifically for the mass airflow sensor. But I will show what codes it's showing and the specific parts I'm going to replace for that. But just in this video, I'll show you guys how to replace the mass airflow sensor. I know my setup is different. I have an engine, SP, cold air intake. Some people might have the stock intake on, but basically it's the same process, just removing the tube or the airbox and just getting access to the mass airflow sensor. So let's get to it. Alright, so first things first, you're gonna disconnect the negative terminal on the battery because we are dealing with electronics, the mass airflow sensor. So I went ahead and loosened the nut here, and it's a 10mm nut. So we're just gonna go ahead and remove it and set it to the side. Alright, next we're gonna remove the connector for the mass airflow sensor. Just pushing the tab in and pulling out. To the side. I'm actually going to keep the intake tube on and just loosen it from the connection here. These two bolts, these two screws here, and I'll remove this whole thing and then separate it from the air cone, and then we'll move from there. So these are actually, you can use a screwdriver, a flathead, or you can use a 8mm socket to remove it. Just going to loosen these up so I can pop the mass airflow sensor off. Boom. Alright, so I just went ahead and put a shop towel inside of the intake tube just so nothing goes inside of the tube while we're swapping out the mass airflow sensor. So let's go. Alright, so we got the mass airflow sensor separated from the intake tube. We're gonna remove the adapter of the air intake tube directly from the mass airflow sensor, which is held by these 4 bolts here, which these are 12s, I believe. So we're gonna go ahead and remove the 4 bolts and then remove the mass airflow sensor as a whole, leaving the adapter of the engine, air intake, and the cone together. So not 12s. Alright, I'm an idiot. These are 10s, not 12s or 11s. So we're gonna go ahead and remove them. One more right here. You don't have to use power tools. I'm just using them because it's easier. Makes the job quicker. You can use regular socket wrenches and whatnot. But yeah, let's do it because it's easier. Alright, so now that we got the 4 bolts removed, we're going to go ahead and separate the air intake cone from the mass airflow sensor. There we go. Now we got them separate. I'm going to put the cone aside, and I'm going to show you guys the mass airflow sensor, the old one compared to the new one. So let's go. So here are the mass airflow sensors side by side, the old one and the new one. This is the old one, OEM, that came off of the Montero. And then this is the new one that I got on Amazon by Most Plus. It was like for 50 bucks. Basically identical with the old one, the OEM. It does come with the rubber gasket as well. What is interesting though, or what's different I should say, is the inside of the mass airflow sensor. There's a connector that's right there, and then there's that little tower thing like in the center. And then the new one, it's got the same connector right in the front, but the tower has like 2 connectors coming out of the side. So not sure if that will make a difference. I did get this on Amazon. Not sure what company Most Plus is, but it was 50 bucks. I know I'm taking a risk by buying cheaper parts on Amazon, but you know, since I'm trying to do all this on my own, I'm gonna see how this works. It's got mixed reviews, so I guess we'll see how it is. If you want to see the part number, here is the part number right here. M3268. I think it's common with like other vehicles as well. Alright, so let's go ahead and throw this baby on. Alright, so before we put the sensor on, let's throw on this gasket that came with it. So it slides over. This part here, the opening, just goes over. Then we can go ahead and put it on. I cleaned the opening of the adapter just so it's cleaned up a little bit. Got the new mass airflow sensor with the new gasket. Gonna go ahead and connect it together. I'm gonna go and this, because I remember I have the nut up of the thing that holds the cone. And then we're gonna put the screws back on. Again, this is totally different from, well, not totally different, but it's different from, you know, an OEM intake system, but it's basically the same process. Removing the airbox, removing the intake hose. That's if you're going to remove it, or you can just remove it directly from it. But yeah, that's basically it. Same process, different setup. So yeah. There's 3. One more screw to bring in. Don't over torque these because these are plastic parts, and it's got a rubber gasket, so you're not gonna need to have it super tight, but just a good snug would be good. Boom, new mass airflow sensor on with the cone. So now we're gonna go ahead and reconnect it with the intake hose. So let's go. All right, so we're gonna remove the paper towel, and I'm going to slide on the hose and hose clamp on the M part of the mass airflow sensor. Then we are going to connect it to the intake hose or intake pipe. Position everything to what I like. Alright, it's not working like I wanted it to. Right, got everything in position. The hose connector and the hose clamps are positioned where I want them to be. So now we're just going to slide it over the intake tube, which is nice and seated correctly all the way in. And then once we're in, we can start tightening everything down. And again, it's the 8mm sockets. Alright, nice and tight, nice and tight. Alright, now we're gonna put the connector back on the mass airflow, the new mass airflow sensor. So we're gonna click that in. There we go. Ooh, and boom. That is how you do a mass airflow sensor replacement on a 2002 Mitsubishi Montero Sport. I'm gonna end the video here. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you liked it, comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.